boom. And we are live.
We are live. So another day.
Another day, another dollar, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Tom Leffler. I'm one of the co-hosts.
I'm AD Factoria. Another one of the co-hosts.
We got our new shirts on.
Yes, we do. We're sporting the new sport shirts. So Tom, what are we gonna get into today? I'm kind of excited.
So this is an interesting one. It's something I want to talk about. I've been working on for very consciously the last 9 months. Is
Yes.
Identity and the story around my life and the story I tell myself, which ties into identity.
Yes.
So that's something that I think has the power, really, if you want substantial long-term change, is you have to change your story, which ties into changing your identity.
Wow, that's gonna be interesting to unpack. So,
you want to go into start off?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. So my identity is, I'm a son. I'm a husband. I'm a father, and I'm a friend. I think that's, I like to say that's like the basic kind of simplistic form of like my identity. So how is there any other way you'd want me to break it down, or
has it changed over time? Like when you
definitely. I mean, I wasn't a father my whole life, but I wasn't a husband my whole life. So yeah, I think the husband. I know the husband and father part of it is more recent additions. Like within the last 4 years, becoming a husband, and then within the last 3 years, becoming a father has been an addition. And yeah.
Well, like even when you were, so you said like son, good friend, husband, father.
Yeah.
I mean, like going AD in college, was he like, okay, my identity's like son, friend? What was that?
About.
Were you even conscious of your identity, or just?
Yeah, so I guess in college it was son, athlete, friend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I went to college to do track, so shot put and discus. So I think those are like my identities. Or maybe somewhere along the lines it was, I would say athlete, because it was not only track, I did powerlifting too. And it was no problem. Yeah, so I think it was athlete because like I really liked getting involved in like activities and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I was too consciously aware of my identity, but I was like I was aware of my responsibility and purpose. Like these are the things that I'm doing, so I didn't really muddle around or like deviate too far from the things that I wanted to do.
Now, how about your transition from college into the workforce? Like where you're like, okay, like I am.
Oh yeah. I think the workforce
that?
It was son and just straight up just workhorse, because all I did was I was with my family and I just worked 7 days a week. So there was nothing else other than son and working. Like that was like it. And then at some point, I think a year after, or maybe 6 months after graduating, or 3 months, just a couple of months in succession, I started going to the gym. So I got into powerlifting. So I was like, all right, so son, workhorse, powerlifter. So I really got into it like seriously. I got really, really, really strong, which was great when I got out of college, because it was a good outlet. Having dropped that athlete identity. So I think that was really good. But then obviously when I met my wife and work got a little busier, I kind of just put that to the side. So it's, to your point, it has always been changing. It's like a deck of cards. You get shuffled. What about you?
I actually have a question. Right out of college, you work for Merrill Lynch?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been Merrill Lynch since right out of college.
Yep.
Okay, and same wealth management,
same thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a question now. Tying in your identity, how does that tie into the story you tell yourself? Like so you said now you're son, father, husband, friend.
Yeah.
So what story on a day-to-day basis do you tell yourself? Like what actions, because of that identity, do you see yourself doing? Like, okay, I'm a father, so I do this, or I'm a husband, I do this, or I'm a son, I do this. Like the obligations with that identity, that like the story you tell yourself throughout the day, like this, I do those things because I am a son or I am a father.
Yeah. And being a son for me is not only my physical father, it's also a son of God. So like I view myself like, so the obligation with that is living a life that's clean, like a life that's that in many regards goes above just moral. a righteous life, which means, like taking care of my wife, taking care of my children, being there for the people around me, being generous and charitable, and at the same time, just, having constant, I would say fellowship with earthly Father and then also God. So that means prayer time, just being conscious that, the world does not revolve around me. I'm like, I'm little in the face of everything else. So I think that's really the mindset that I have, knowing that, like, all that I have was given to me, and my only responsibility is to be a good steward over it. I would say that's like the condensed version of like what that obligation is.
Okay.
So try not to take things for granted, I guess.
Which I think is huge. Now, is there any new identities or stories that you want to work on or like embody?
It's a good question. I don't think so. I think right now, like at this point in my life, like at this very moment that you asked me the question, like being a son, a husband, a father, and a friend is great for me. Like I think that like encompasses a lot of spheres of life and things of that nature at this very moment. Now, you ask me this question 15, 20, 30 years from now, I don't know what the answer would be. But this very moment, I'm very much so like, I think there's a lot of work in those identities in and of itself. Like, in terms of like the responsibility that comes with those identities. So, just really, I could spend a whole lifetime working on those things and, and I'll look up and I'll say, oh, time's up. At this very moment, that's what my view is. So. It's wild, right? When you think about it.
It's yeah. I mean, because just unpacking one of them, just being like a father.
Yeah.
That alone is.
It's a lot because your child has different.
And the child's gonna change different stages.
Exactly.
Like,
so
it's like,
even your husband, your wife changes different stages too. Just times, it's just. I don't know why I think he's popping up. It's very interesting. There's just a lot. Even being a son, like my parents are gonna require more of me as they grow older,
Yeah.
So it's like there's just so much. There's so much, so much in all those things. If you want to do them right, that's the thing. If you don't care, it's not really much.
Now I guess like going into more so the relationship with you.
Yes.
Because again, those are great identities, and I think they are you're embodying them, but like is there an identity that like you like tell yourself like I am like this, like I am like charismatic, outgoing, like compassionate or loving? Like, is there any story you tell yourself?
Yeah, I would say loving. Like I'm loving. Like I love people, and unfortunately the other side of love too is grief, right? So. Or sympathy, or deep emotional pain, because
suffering.
When you care for people, you also feel their pain as well. So, I think loving is definitely something that's embodied. And what was the second part of the question?
So just more. I was just asking like the story that you like tell yourself.
Yeah. I would say I'm loving. Like I at least strive to be loving, because love is an action, not a word. You have to like kind of show it through your lifestyle and the time. Like that you spend with people, and it's complicated because like people deal with things differently, and it's like you have to understand their space. Sometimes you have to encroach your space a little bit just to let them know that you're there, because they may not even know the kind of pain that they're going through. And then also part of love is understanding that like you have a capacity too, so you can't also bite off more than you can chew, because it becomes a law of diminishing returns, where you actually end up causing more harm than good. So, it is a management juggling act, rationing muscle, but that does grow though. So because
I know you and like you're just a ball. Like we talked about like just when I first met you in high school, like you radiate positive, like loving, caring, just like joyful energy. And I think I'm just curious, like there's nobody that you probably can't put a smile on their face, or people like they gravitate probably just naturally to you, like they see you with a smile, like people's like, hey, like they tell you their life story or something. It's like, and I feel like as I'm starting to shift my mind and like become more positive and joyful and come to those things, I'm seeing that like, so I'm curious, like, how do you juggle that? Like, again, diminishing returns, because I'm sure you probably, like, you want to too, probably like hang out, you're curious about people, like you want to help people, like how do you prioritize that? Like what like?
I think it's really what it is like just structuring your life so that you're available, but at the same time you're still getting things done. So I don't work out by myself. As much as I can, anything that I do that I can do with someone else, that's an opportunity right there. So in your case, like, you know, you mentioned power washer, things like that. You know how you bring a buddy along, but that's like you're gonna be there for 2-3 hours anyway. So it's why not be there with someone? So even though the equipment might be loud, in between there's opportunities to like converse, stuff like that. So like that's a very, very simple way to integrate you know, people into your life and at the same time be available for people. Also, it's easier for people to talk about or have a conversation when they're not just sitting down face to face with one another. Like, it does take a lot of emotional maturity to sit down and just talk about what you're going through. So doing a task as simple as rolling up the tarp of a pool actually does help someone even better get to their point of what they're looking to tell you in the first place. So not only is it effective on your time to have them there with you while you're doing it, but it also like assists them in getting to their point and explaining what they're going through, or even like the process of what they're doing or whatever menial task it is. It could be raking, helps them get to that, helps them get to the crux of whatever it is that's bothering them.
So less pressure.
Exactly. I mean, that and amongst other things, even thinking. Because when you're just looking at your problem face to face and there's nothing to distract you, it's so overwhelming. So I think doing a task and stuff makes it easier for someone to do it. Yes, it takes the pressure off, but also physically doing something allows them to really get to the crux of the matter.
Like open up more, you think?
Yeah. Or even be able to get to it. Or especially when someone's doing something movement based.
Yeah, I think that's like getting out of your head and into your body.
Literally.
That's like so crucial.
Yeah. Because people tend to overthink, as you know.
I am.
Yeah, we all do.
Yes, sir.
We all do though. We all do.
Yep.
So that's a very easy way to not overthink. You just straight up do something.
Body.
Do something.
Yeah, get into it.
Yeah.
This computer's being fun today.
Yeah. So, what about you?
It's something. I mean, it's gonna be a deep dive. It's something I've really been consciously working on.
Let's go.
So I'm big like into affirmations. Again, Tony Robbins talks about like identity, the story you tell yourself, and all that. And so something I realized with my life, with just again like the easiest one is for me. It's like simple as like health and fitness. But health and fitness actually ties into business, because once I made that switch, that like I flipped the switch that like I am an athlete, I am lean, I am a leader. I am a business owner, like I am like the boss, like I am in charge, like people look up to me. Like once I flipped that switch and I like realized like I do those things, and then the rest of my life kind of fell in line. So like, okay, I am an athlete, I am lean, I'm a leader, I am a boss, like people rely on me. So I can't afford to, you know, like not do my responsibilities every day. Like I can't afford it's okay. It's a, you know, I woke up late, or I'm tired, or I feel down, or like I'm not feeling good today, or I don't want to do it. I can't afford not to do things. Just one, like, okay, I'm a business owner and people rely on me, so I have to do it. But I'm also a leader. I set the example, so I do those things. Like I'm a doer. So I'm very conscious of going like broad range. Like I want to like be a great son. I want to be a great father one day. I want to be a great partner one day. I want to be a great friend. I want to be a great member of society. I want to contribute. So like those are like my broad range identities. Yeah. But then coming down into that's like the things I've been working on is like I want to be more like joyful, charismatic, positive, outgoing, like, you know, more social, and like be the light. Like instead of like looking for the light in others, like be the light. Like make other people feel like positive. Like after leaving the conversation, that they feel better or worse that we like converse. You know. Just give people hope and like motivation, because that was what I was looking for. Yeah. You know, so I said, so I try to become the things I was looking for in other people. Like so, again, you're very hopeful, have tremendous faith, and like that's why I think I was so attracted to you originally, like our friendship, because I was like, I want those things, you know. So I realized like it's the same thing with like attracting a partner. You got to be the things that you want.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been like. I've made a list of things like I look for in other people or in a future partner, and I'm like, I'm gonna make my identity those things. And so for a future partner, like I love a girl who's like super charismatic, super outgoing, fun, positive, bubbly, like easygoing, like lets things go, like honest, trustworthy, good communicator. So it's like, why not just become those things? Or like a friend, I like people that are honest, like loyal, respectful, easygoing, like you can bust balls, like doesn't take anything to heart, like you know, can take sarcasm, like you know, just have a good time, like be present. So it's like, why not become those things?
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of like flipped the script of like, instead of seeking, just become. So I really made my identity things that I want to embody. Like I want to be a leader. I want to be like an athlete, lean, charismatic, outgoing, positive, joyful, optimistic, be the light, like in a sense. And so that's something I've been really working on. And like I have a whole routine in the morning. Like I write my affirmations. I write them down. I read them out loud. Like I'm a Tony Robbins guy, so he's all about like identity and story. And we touched on this a little bit last time. The story, I'm trying to change the story about pool season.
Wow.
For myself, because the last 26 years with my parents, with my family, it's like this is chaos. This is the worst time of year. We just have to get through till Labor Day, like to survive the summer. It is what it is. Like we don't have holidays. It's miserable. It's chaotic. It's stressful. We don't have a life. It is like that was the story for 26 years.
Misery.
Literally, like for 9-10 months, suck it up, do the hard stuff, survive the day, get to Labor Day. That was the story. And again, for 26 years, it's hard. I'm trying to break it, but it's hard because I mean, I saw it. I saw my parents just like my dad stressed out of his mind. My parents, like my mom, they would be like getting arguments because they were over the business stuff. And I just saw like my dad was just working nonstop and just trying to survive the day for 9-10 months. And then so like just by proxy, like that's a story I told myself, like, oh, pool season's coming, like this is awful, like, oh, you're not gonna see me for a while, like I can't, you know. But I'm like, why? You know, why do I have that story? Because if I have that story, most likely that's what it's gonna be. Because I'm like, no. So I like wrote it out. Like I have my laptop, my computer at home. It's like pool season is stimulating. It's a way for me to get outside more. I get to be around my guys. Like I get to develop more as a person. You know. So I'm changing the story from like it being hell, misery, suffering, chaos, like
war,
stressed out of my mind, war, battle. No, like this is like opportunity to grow. This is stimulating. I got to be around. I have an amazing team. I have amazing people. I got to be outside working with them in this time of year. Like, you know, I got to, you know, challenge myself. I got to grow and develop and like work on my communication skills, leadership skills. So, trying to reframe that.
So how long have you been trying to change the narrative for the pool season? Like
the last month.
So how's that been going for you?
It's being tested. Like, it's like as things have come up and like, you know, like just life stresses, like not the chaos, but like the emails, the calls, like trying to go out there doing like, and that's when it really tests you. It's like that's where you just gotta like step back and be like, okay, it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, it matters, but it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So it's like, okay, don't freak out. And it's like, remember, like, okay, so this is, in the old time would be like, this is what it is. This is the pool season. This is suffering. This is, but it's like, okay, how can I, you know, how would this look like if it was easier? So how can I delegate tasks to people, which I've been doing more. Like how would this look like if it's easier? And okay, if I can't, it's like, okay, this is challenging me. Like this is like, you know, when you're under pressure, like, you know, like it forces you to like step up to the plate. So I'm gonna try to frame like, okay, I'm gonna get, because this, if I handle this in a positive way, I'm only gonna develop my muscles, like my mental stress muscles even more.
Yeah.
So it's easier, like I'm saying it now, but in the moment it's hard.
It's very difficult
to step out of that, because like you just
because you already have a plan for the day, and that just wrecks it all.
And then you get like so. And
then it starts coming. Then the other stuff starts coming.
It comes in waves, you know. It's
Interesting. So like in terms of like the things, the shockers in your day, are there any patterns or are there any like consistency? Like have you noticed any, like in the last month that you've been trying to change the narrative of the pool season, the obstacles and hurdles you face, has there been any possible pattern or any like reoccurring
there's not really a pattern with the chaos, but I've been a pattern with how I'm reacting to it. Oh. That's because that's what I can control. I can't control the pattern of the chaos because, like, I mean, like stuff happens, like, you know, it's like random. Like one of my subcontractors like asked me for like a 1099 like the other night, and it's just like
out of nowhere. It
was like stuff you can't even predict. You know, it's like it's just how it comes. You know, it's like that stuff you can't really predict in a sense. But what I realize is control with the controllables. Yeah. So control how I react to that situation.
So give them like a realistic timeline.
Delegate. You know, like I try to do. Actually, I talked to another entrepreneur, and this was great because as an entrepreneur, as running a business, most likely you have 3 buckets of things in a day to do. The first bucket is the things you would like to do, your wish list, the things that will actually probably move the needle in your business, get things like, you know, more systematized, organized, going from like business operator, business owner. That's like your wish list. Like, you know, those are stuff like you want to get to in a day. Then you have your list of stuff that like has to get done in a day, just to keep the business going. Like your daily like structure of things that has to get done, which is like, okay, that's your to-do list for the day, keep the business rolling, has to get done. And then you have a list of stuff that the unpredictables, the stuff that happens, you don't know when, you don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to happen. And you have to, like the fires, and you have to put those out. The goal is to try to mitigate, the fire is going to happen regardless, and like it's hard, I guess, at a high level to have someone who could take those off. So like those, that's the more challenging one. I think the middle one is like your to-dos that you know what they are, they're predictable, getting those delegated or outsourced first, and then you could do your energy more to like firefighting
and then wish list.
And then ideally you get somebody who could then do the firefighting, and then you do wish list, because that's actually going to propel your business to the next level. But the problem is, and like I noticed myself like 5 years ago, my to-do list and the fires list were so hard, like so overwhelming, that the wish list wasn't even a thought. Wasn't even like a thought, you know?
I didn't even think about it.
And like talking to my other entrepreneur friend is like, you know, from an outside perspective, like people are like, oh, like I understand, like why can't, like you should be like working on this, like you should, like, you know, it's like you should be like, you know, you should have like somebody who, like, you know, is a recruit, like, you know, like whatever system or something in place.
It's like not that
easy. They're not wrong, but the problem is like to get to that stage, you know, I don't have the mental capacity or energy because I'm still on the 2 other. Yeah. So that's where it's frustrating.
You can't be in a burning building and asking for someone to come in to help you put out the fire. It's too late at that point.
It's too late. So like that's where it's like it's a weird balancing act. Yeah. So that's something I'm more conscious of now, is like, okay, the fire's gonna happen. That's regardless. Like, don't get over. I used to throw me off. Like I'd be like, I had my because I had my long to-do list like back in the day, like with so much stuff, because it was still just like just one-man army. Yeah. There's so much stuff that had to get done that when a fire came, I was like, oh crap! Like I'm gonna be up to like 10, 11 o'clock.
And how long would you be frustrated over the inconvenience of that fire?
I mean, depends how bad the fire was.
So sometimes 2 hours.
It could ruin my day.
Like, no, I'm saying like when you're like your day's ruined, like what would happen? Would you still be working? And
I would still work. Yeah.
But would the quality of your work go down as you're thinking about it?
Like attitude towards it and the quality probably. It was like just more of a miserable person. Like and like realizing again, I just was miserable for so long. Like the thing is, like I'm the type of person where even if like I'm like don't feel like it, or I'm gonna do it anyway. I just might not, like, I'm not gonna do it and enjoy it and like be not a joy to be around. Yeah. And like I don't want to be that.
It's like discipline. Like you're disciplined.
I'm disciplined. Like that's the thing. It's like I'm very fortunate, or whatever, my work ethic. Like I have no problem. Like if stuff has to get done, I'm confident in myself.
If you absolutely don't want to do it.
If I don't want to do it, it's getting done. If it has to get done, it's getting done. And that's like I trust myself, believe myself. But the next level is doing it like I like it. Yeah. You know, like, and doing it with joy, or
liking it,
or like doing it like, you know, being like I get to do this because I realize like if I'm doing it because like I'm just stubborn and disciplined, but I'm miserable, like that's no way to live. Like not like the relationships of people around you. It's not good to yourself. So that's really the next level. I'm like, okay, do it, but find joy in it, or be appreciative that you get to do it, or find, like, you know, enjoy the process, because I realize like it's 9 months out of the year. If I'm miserable, like what kind of life is that?
Have you found that, like, actually, a better way to ask this is, so you mentioned that you can do something even if you don't want to do it.
Yep.
So are you, like, do you feel like you're willing yourself to do it at that point? Or you're just like, it's going to get done, it's going to get done, it's going to get done?
It's not even a conversation. For me, at this, it used to be a willingness. Now it's not even a conversation.
So you're not really fatiguing your will then at that point?
No, because it's so solidified. And that's where identity comes in.
Yeah.
Because I think people, or even myself, in the beginning when you're trying to, like, you know, change who you are or like work on a new habit or a new skill or a new job, like you have to really, like, you know, I think it's, again, Atomic Habits, I think it's like the first 6 months, like you really have to like will yourself or have that conversation. But then when you flip the switch, it's like, no, this is what I do now. Then there's no, the willingness, the conversation's over. It's not a question. It's like, okay, this has to get done. Like, you need this by tomorrow. Okay, I'm either gonna stay up all night. I'll wake up early in the morning. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, it's not even a question. Yeah. Like, that's the level of identity when you realize, like, this is what I do now. Yeah. I do now. The question, like, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Like, this is getting done.
It's more like, okay, this is when it's gonna get done by. It's when it needs to get done by, and this is when it's gonna get done by, and this is the plan.
And that's when everything changes in your life with anything. Because again, the willingness, like the conversation you have yourself, like, oh, I really should go to the gym today. It's like,
there's no conversation.
But like, I wake up.
You're there. Like, you're actually at the gym, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna train legs today.
Yeah. Or it's just like you wake up and it's like, I'm sore, I'm tired, I didn't sleep that much. But like, this is what I do now. Yeah. Like I work out. Like I work out 5-6 days a week or 3 days a week. Like I move every day. Like it's not even a question. It's like, this is what I do now. That's the next level.
Of course, yeah.
And I think because everyone's looking for, I guess, like the perfect plan, like the perfect workout, the perfect diet, perfect business plan.
It does not exist.
It's this. It's the mindset. It's the identity. It's the story. Because if you tell me that I'm gonna be a millionaire, no matter what, and that's who I am, you'll find a way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're blessed in America that like it could happen.
It's a very open economy.
And even like my current physique, like. I saw this before, like years before it happened. But I saw it here, I believed it, and I identified as it, and I was doing the things, even though I didn't have the proof yet, you know. But I knew where I was going.
Where you're going.
And I identified as like, this is who I am now. I don't like eat junk food. I don't skip the gym. I don't do those things.
You just get it done, like discipline.
This is who I am.
Interesting. That's so cool. So, but then the next phase you're looking to do now is to do those things, but still have joy.
I have a smile on my face. Yeah. Enjoy the process.
Interesting. So how do you envision that looking like, though?
Enjoying the process?
Yeah.
And I envision it like coming from a place of like I have to versus I get to. Realizing that, going back to hope and faith, that everything will work out in the end. Because I think a lot of people stress over like when you have like 100 things you have to get done that day, and like that's the thing too. It's frustrating, honestly, because as an entrepreneur, like when you're in the heat of things, like you have a list of things that have to get done, and honestly, they're not going to get done that day.
Yeah.
They might not get done the next day. Might get done for a week. Might not get done for a month. Might not get done for years.
Yeah.
And it's super frustrating. It's overwhelming. It's scary. All that. But like you just have to keep going and have faith that it will work out.
That if you persevere, you will break through eventually.
And just again, get the first down. The next thing. And it's tough, and it's the scary, exciting part with like business life. It never ends.
Yeah.
There's no finish line.
There's always going to be something.
There's
that you
no
have to tinker
finish
with,
line.
Change. So like, in terms of your current lineup in your business, like, because obviously now you're in the heat of things, so it's hard to really think about teammates and stuff like that. But in the off season, what's your plan? You think
for this upcoming off season?
Yeah.
So this past off season, like a lot of good things happened.
Yeah.
I got a bookkeeper, got a new accountant, hired a new HR person, got a new like scheduling system for the payroll. Looking back, it seems like a lot, but like I'm in it now. It's like, oh, I could have done so much more. So like not giving yourself credit because like you realize like, okay, I made like 4 or 5 huge changes that are gonna like make things so much better. But still, it's like frustrating.
But you still feel war. I'm
still not where I want to be.
Like, wow, like this is actually still like you don't feel like you moved the needle that much.
Yeah, and actually, I was talking to my other entrepreneur friend last night, and you don't give because like you're in it, and like a day or a week or a month, it doesn't seem like much is going on. But I think again, take a step back, like step out, like especially if you have your own business, like if you've been in business for a couple of years, look back at 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Your business, me. I'm not the same person. Yeah. I'm not even close, which is really cool. But the business is not even close either.
That's crazy.
The operations, like if I look back 5 years ago when I first went in on this.
Oh my goodness.
Like the systems, the everything, like
paper, just like all over the place. People were getting paid probably out of your own pocket. Like
it was just like
getting checks and instantly just depositing into people's accounts probably.
No, this is why we're here for this. So payroll used to be, again, this was 5 years ago when I first came on. We had like literally like 30 sheets of paper, last name, first name, and like we had probably 350 employees at the time. And so each manager, we had probably 20 managers would be like, okay, I have one manager would be like, okay, for these 15 employees, they would send in their hours. And so each manager would send the hours, and then I would be on one, like either I would just do, like my parents used to do this, like my mom would read it to my dad and be like, okay, Sally Smith had 10 hours. He would write 10 hours. Look up through the sheets, look up Sally Smith and put 10 hours in. So he used to go through the sheets. It was,
how long would that take? That's ridiculous.
Payroll used to be a 3 to 4 day process for like full 10 to 12 hour day, 3 to 4 days for them to do.
Every 2 weeks?
Every week during the season. On top of everything else. Okay?
Oh my goodness gracious.
So this is like how crazy it was. And I came in, and so when I first came on, like, well, it was good though. My dad didn't have me involved with that stuff. He had me lifeguard and manage pools first for the first few years. He didn't have me do any office stuff, which was really interesting. Probably, I mean, it would have
because he wanted to focus on the office stuff while you did.
No, he wanted me to like get in the trenches.
Okay,
yeah, he wanted me to like go out there, see what it was about, like do that. And then I came in and like I saw and I was like, again, it was during the summer, and it was like you can't really change it now. It's like in it, and I saw like literally 3 full days, like 10, 12 hour days. Like I got them out of it. I would just do it, and then now again just seeing how far we've come is like it's like a 2 hour
automated
thing.
now.
It's like a 2 hour thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Went from like a 3 day thing.
Like 36 hours.
36 hours for one person.
2 hours.
To 2 hours. And it's like more accurate.
Do they know that it's that easier?
Yeah. They know. But like, you know, like that was, and so again, looking back and like looking to where things are now, like so many things have changed.
That's absurd to think about, bro.
Bro, it was.
Because you got to think, that's every week for 9 months. So you think of 36 hours times. What? 36?
And it just...
Wait, put that in. 36. Wait, 36.
For 15 weeks out of the year.
So 36 times 15. 540 hours.
Just on payroll.
That's what
and that's
it was before.
That's what used to
now be. It's 30 hours. You literally cut off 510 hours of work.
And it's probably, I would say, 25 to 30% more accurate with the new system.
That's absolutely absurd. That's just one of the things that's
one of the things. So many things, and that's the thing, you don't give yourself credit.
Yeah, but my question is, how is it that you don't notice that when you're in the thick of things, though?
They didn't notice it.
I'm saying you. Like, how is it that your mind could, like,
because there's so many
you that
there's so many things that still have to be
like, is it that, okay, now that it's, so what are things that need to be improved now?
So now, like, what needs to be improved is, like, I need a better...
Because I'm really thinking, I'm like, yo, that, like, I feel like that's wild. Like,
yeah, that was like a big example. I need like a more better work order system with I'm working on it right now.
People asking for service.
No, work order like within like internal. So like, okay, so pool A, manager A at pool A, like, okay, I need a new skimmer brush or like a skimmer net. And instead of them just like texting me or my dad like, hey, I need a new skimmer net, it's like, oh, they put in this work order, you know, okay, it's received. Tom or Brian, like one of my guys, Brian, are gonna get the skim net, but it's also cataloged that, okay, pool A got a skimmer net and brush, so I know like the expenses for that pool. So more of like a system to track everything.
Have you ever heard of Ariba?
No.
I think there's an expense system. I think it's called Ariba. So basically, whatever companies you buy your skimmer nets from or all your supply from, I think you discuss with them. You have them on that portal, so they can just go on their phone and order it, and all you have to do is
approve it.
Yeah, prove it. Or we can give you or the HR person the ability to
So send that to me, because that's the thing. I know there's like interfaces out there instead of me trying to build something or like internally. So please, like,
I don't know whether. I'm gonna text that to you right now.
But like that's like the next level. It's like
it's
a more
internal
system. Like I need a better job of tracking expenses on a per pool basis.
Yep.
Well, that's also why I got this new scheduling system, because it's gonna be more accurate to track. Like it's gonna integrate what they currently make with the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like so like again, work order system.
I'll send it to you. I spelled it wrong. Ariba. Expenses. Yeah, but no, it's very interesting because like I see what you're saying, and how much time would that save you think?
With that?
Yeah.
With
like if you system? Had like an expense like system.
Oh, not only time. I mean, it would be
because then you'd be able to work on your wish list a little bit more, right?
You'll get less texts throughout the day or week or calls.
It's crazy.
So it's like doing those things like get day to day. So, you know, it's cool.
That's wild.
Yeah, and the other thing is too. Like this year I promoted. In the past, like I would every pool we have or whatever, any issue they would come to me, or maybe my dad, but mostly me. But and that's like on top of the day to day stuff. There's like any issue, and we have whatever pool. How many pool locations we have? Like 30 managers working like every day. Like those 30 managers, this guy.
Yeah.
On top of everything else. So I promoted the 2 guys, and so like, hey, these are their days. So like, my COO, my CTO, he does Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The other guy goes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So if any issues arise, you contact them. Any like dire issues, you still contact me.
Yeah.
So that'll free me up from like 20, 30 phone calls, hopefully a day.
Wow.
So it just frees me up again, getting to that wish list.
100%.
That's actually, we're gonna go like move the needle. So.
And it takes a while for these changes to implement.
100%.
You have to correct them. You have to correct them.
No one likes change.
Oh, but Tom, I want to talk to you right away. No, just.
So it's important.
You literally have to I think
reprogram them.
Yeah, like, hey, this is something you have to talk to so and so about. I gotta get going.
Yeah, and it's also relinquishing control.
Yeah. Which
is hard for me because my dad, the same thing. Like he did everything himself, then I did everything myself, and it's like it's actually to a detriment. So it's like relinquishing control.
You don't have that much capacity to do that much stuff. Has there been any calls that someone that's called you for something that you can talk to your CTO or CO about?
Yeah.
Do you tell them on the call that
it hasn't really happened yet because our pools aren't open per se.
Yeah.
But moving forward during the season, they're gonna call me and be like, hey, I'll handle this now, but in the future, please call so and so.
Or is it possible that you don't handle it and you just tell them to call so and so? Because I know that sounds harsh, but
it's true. No,
because unfortunately people,
like, I just call Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what they did, and that's what I allowed that to happen.
How would that sound? Like, would you be open to doing something like that?
I should do it. Yeah.
Just be like, hey, that's actually not something I'm capable of doing, or
please contact Brian.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's something again. You guys got to reprogram.
Yeah.
Change their story. It's all story. It's like the story is like, okay, I have a problem. I call Tom.
Literally.
But it's like, I have a problem. Who's the who's the person on call today? It's Brian or the other Brian.
And then is it possible for you to have times of the day where Brian, the other guys, like, I hate to say office hours, they're available, that you can have blocks of your calendar where you're doing wish list stuff? Like 3 hours of your day. Like, so let's say, so you said Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
The only day right now, which I might probably even take myself off of, is Sunday. I'm like the manager on call. Yeah. I'm even gonna try to scale myself out of that. So
it's like, take me off.
Yeah, and so it might be because my dad's looking for stuff. It might be him.
That's fantastic.
So
give him something to do.
Yeah, it might be something for him to do if he wants that. But it's just interesting. My dad's I love him, but he's just like
you kind of don't want him too because he just meddles things. And you show it on Monday, you're like, oh, you put your hand in the machine.
It's like you
bang the TV. You're not supposed to hit it.
It's a weird balancing act,
Because he also kind of started the thing, so it's like.
And I respect that's the thing. Like I have this would be.
And he could also potentially, he could also potentially create bad behaviors.
Oh. Awful behavior
patterns.
He's the ringleader of the bad behaviors.
Yeah, so.
Even last year, again, going from everything doing ourselves, like when I came on, like he's like, okay, like you still oversee like yourself, like we manage like physically at a pool, and then you oversee condos, like doing what the managers do, like okay. So like when I first came on, like it was just expected. Okay, so I'm doing the payroll. I'm managing like 4 condo pools, doing the schedule, the chemicals. I'm also physically at a pool on the weekends, like, but that's just what he did. He did everything himself. Then I realized, I'm like, hey, like, why don't we just pay somebody $30 an hour to manage a pool? He's like, but we save money. I'm like, no. And then the condos, you're like, we just pay them. He's like, like, and I'm like, for what? What's you know?
Yeah, what are we losing here?
We're not losing anything. We're actually, because if you free your time up, you could, you know, like, it could gain new business. Like,
you could sleep.
You have a life. And so, even last year, like, again, I want to set up where me and my dad for the first year were not running any pools ourselves. Like, we had all managers doing it, but then he slipped back in and he took over like 2 or 3 pools. But the issue then becomes, my dad's not great. He's old school with like the scheduling stuff. He's great, the maintenance, but like, it came to me like helping him find guards and like doing all that because he's using like pen and paper.
Put more workload to you.
Yeah, it's like, no, like, just pay the guy to do it.
Yeah.
Just pay them. It's a hard, but again, it's hard for him.
It's ingrained in his mind to suffer.
He did everything himself.
Yeah, it's like weird to see.
It's a scarcity mindset.
It's weird to see like the his Tesla on autopilot.
It's,
I want to grab the wheel. It's like, Dad, you can't drive this.
But it's finding for him, and I told him like, you should be more like the sales or just check it. Like, go to the pools, just be the face. But he likes being the grunt.
Yeah.
He likes getting in there, and I like doing that too. But you can't. It's like it's tough. You got to be like, you know. So
it's tough, man. But it's hard because it's like you're trying to reprogram 26 years. How many years is he trying
38,
to
38, 40 years.
Absurd.
Of just the business. That's not even his life. That's just almost 40 years of the business.
Absurd.
And where he just like one-man army did, like, literally by himself, did everything, like open the pool, clean, manage, schedule, lifeguard, like did all that stuff because he had one pool in the beginning, so he literally just bootstrapped it all. So he comes from that bootstrap mentality. But it's impossible to bootstrap to the size we are.
Yeah.
And it's actually a hindrance. And it hinders our growth, it hinders our, like, you know,
effectiveness, the product that you're offering.
Everything.
Yeah, so you know, in many cases his identity is something that, you know, you realize like that's why he was able to function at such a high level despite the stress, because his identity was like this, gotta do this.
It's like, I gotta be.
And you realize how that, like, so is it that you realize how that is not something, a narrative you wanted in your life, or?
It was, I adopted his narrative of like, hey, like, you know, do everything yourself, you know, lone wolf it, like one-man army, like, you can do it all, you know. I had that mentality. And then I was disassociative. I was just like functioning depressed because I was just like overwhelmed all the time, but like still got stuff done, and just, but like I had no emotion because I just suppressed it. Because like, at least me, working 16-hour days, 7 days a week for 25, 30 weeks out of the year, doing stuff that you necessarily don't love, like, you can't really, like, to do that, you kind of have to, you can't be like, something's got to give. So I would go into robot mode, or, you know, that's so weird.
Go in robot mode, or just like absolute, just click off, check out.
I'd just be like, you know, numb.
Automotive mode.
Just survival mode.
Do you feel like that like affected your health in any way?
100%. Mental health a lot, but I think physical health too.
Like in what way? Like, do you work yourself to the ground? Or?
I still struggle with sleep. Like, I used to sleep so good before this all. Sleep is something I still struggle with, especially once the season comes up. Like, I have a lot in my mind, so like, I guess like it's hard. Like I wake. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I mean, I wake up kind of naturally now, like 4:45, 5.
Wow.
But I used to be more conscious of trying to go to bed earlier.
But now you're up later a little bit, right? Because you have like real relationships now. You have friends.
And I love it. That's the thing. It's great. And I want to keep maintaining those.
So what time do you go to bed on average now? Like 11, 12?
10:30, 11:30.
Oh, wow.
I really should be like 9:30 to 10:30, but I've been going like 10:30, 11:30. Because I'm also working till like 9:30 some nights. So like I'm checking out, like, again, because I'm also, I have this, so like I finished the pool stuff. It's like, okay, so I'm scheduling meetings at like 7:30, 8:30 at night for like talking with my team with this, or talking with my marketing guy, and like, you know, so it's like starting calls at like 7:38 at night, and then you're kind of jacked up, and so it's like, okay, it's 9:30, 9:45, shower, kind of unwind for like 15 minutes, like journal, read, and then it's like, by the time it's like, oh crap, it's like 10:30, I'm like texting my friend, so it's tough.
That's why I was like, maybe you should consider like restructuring your day a little bit, where you have time chunks, like 1 or 2 time chunks throughout, one direct, like you can experiment with one throughout the week, or it's a defined day where there's 2 to 3 hours available for Apollo Fuel, rather than having that day now bleed over.
Or just like at night, like the end of the,
Yeah. So you can, because at this point you're delegating managers to do things. So it's like, you know, again, it's just about, I don't know, holding them to the same responsibility in which their raise and their title comes with. So, you know, you're kind of doing them a disservice too, because eventually the team's going to get bigger and things of that nature. So it's like, you got to like put pressure on them now to see
relinquish control.
Yeah, relinquish control, yeah.
That's what I suffer with.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, you're still working on Apollo Fuel. Apollo Fuel, you have both hands on the rein. But in order for you to have both hands on the rein on Apollo Fuel, you know, it may be interesting for you to consider a time period during the week where one of your managers are on call, is relinquish control for 2-3 hours, where you're actually doing calls for Apollo Fuel.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. It's
because you can have both reins. Bro, 2-3 hours is not going to kill the business.
No, 100%.
And you also mentioned there were two things that were happening. They were taking, so if your mom and dad are doing payroll 36 hours in a week, and the business didn't fail, but they had to do the payroll in those 12-hour chunks, how were the pools being run in those 12 hours that they were doing it, right?
I mean, my dad just wouldn't stay up till like 2 o'clock.
Oh, so he'd come back.
He'd do it at night. The payroll at night.
Oh, so you'd come back maybe at like 9?
You get probably in from the pool like 7:38, and then from like 8 till like 12 or 1 or 2 those nights you do.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
it's like
I got it.
It's savage.
And then he'd wake up at 4 again?
Yeah, he sleeps like 5:36.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
So just rinse repeat.
Interesting. So he didn't lose the pool day then necessarily.
Never.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy, man. So relinquishing control. that's gonna be the next one.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, I would challenge people to, if you're working on something, or even, this is speaking to myself, when I'm working on something, is ask yourself better questions.
Yo,
that's
cool. Deep.
Because like,
why'd you come up with that? Why'd you say? So why'd you say that? Like, ask yourself better questions. Like,
because you ask the questions like, why am I out of shape? Why am I not getting work done? Why I'm not? It's like, how would this look like if I were in shape? How would this look like? Why do I not have a lot of money? Like, what would it look like if I was, you know, making more money or a better saver? Instead of like asking the questions like, why, like like negative things, like why am I like financially in a bad place, or why don't I have a business? Like, how can I start a business? How can I be financially like stable, or like, you know, what would that look like? So we get so caught up in negative questions or thought loops, but it's like, just ask better questions.
It's crazy how you're asking about the same subject matter.
It's the same thing.
But it's like completely, it's like, okay, why am I out of shape versus how can I lead a life where I'm eating better and I feel better? It's like same exact thing being asked, but because it's more of a positive connotation, it's actually more effective and it's more solution oriented rather than the why.
One has hope.
Rather than the other one, you're just like, you're damning yourself. You're like, why am I like this? Why am I gonna, like, you know, why?
So maybe next episode get into questions.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's, again, it's trust me, it's something I've been really working on. It's like the questions, the mindset, the identity.
Especially in the heat of the moment where you're having that visceral emotional response and your blood's boiling or you're flustered. It's just like, it's a haymaker that you didn't see.
Like, you get the fog.
It's like it's so frustrating being in that emotional setting. But do you feel like in the past month you've been more aware of and that?
It's cool. I got chills thinking about it. I've been super aware, and like I've been able to step out of it.
You're like, I see what's happening.
Like I'm like driving. I got like a call. I'm like answering texts. I'm answering emails. I'm driving. Like I'm like all this, and it's like I'm just like I step back, like the steering wheel, like breathe, open the window, put some music on, like just breathe. Yeah. Just like being able to step out of that fog.
Exactly. And then as soon as you're
being aware of it is one.
Yeah, as soon as your car's parked, then you can do it.
Yep. Being one is aware. Okay, I'm in the fog, or I'm in the hyper stress state, the hyper, you know, survival mode. You know, like the chaos, the battle. I'm in it. Being aware of it. Okay, I'm in the battle. 2, step out of the battle. It doesn't really matter. Like things are all right. Like no one's dying. Okay, step out of the battle if you can. Reset, reload, go back in. You know,
that's crazy, man.
And I'm catching myself.
Yeah.
And it's like I've noticed in the past month,
you've caught yourself.
I've caught myself, and like in the past it would lead to like honestly a path of either me stress eating, or me like leading down hedonistic stuff, like just to escape escape this feeling. Yeah. Like I want to do something that says like I'm gonna like scroll through social media, or in the past like I'm gonna go jerk off to porn, or I'm gonna go like stress eat a bunch of these carbs. But it's like take a step back, sit down, maybe like just do like a breathing exercise, go for a walk, leave the freaking phone, and
then come back to it with a more level mind. When the emotion is when you've given time to be like, wait, this is not that important.
It doesn't really matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter.
Do you know what's interesting, man? It's like, as smart as we are as human beings, like our mind's still super primitive. Because if you think about the hedonistic pressure you talked about, it's like, again, it's like, someone's screwing me, so I'm just gonna screw someone else.
Screw yourself.
Yeah, screw yourself.
Not screw anybody but yourself.
I'm gonna screw myself
by like go overeating, or go watching porn, or like go like doing something that's like
crazy,
and actually setting yourself back more.
Yeah, you're like physically like demonstrating what you're feeling, which is like crazy.
And that's I think, and
it's
it
like
leads,
terrible.
And it kind of escalates.
But if you walk or you do something,
you step out of it, you do breathing exercise.
Wait, time out. I'm good. Like you're literally like, wait, I'm good. Like, this is not that important. But in the heat of the moment, unfortunately, if you're locked in the room, you will behave like an animal.
It's so hard. Yeah. And the other thing is to accept it. Yeah. Like in the past, I was running from it. Like, okay, I'm starting to get, I'm super stressed.
Which is so ironic.
I'm running from it. So I'm gonna go like distract myself by eating. I'm gonna distract myself on social media. I'm gonna distract myself like doing something I shouldn't be.
And show up bloated and disgusting, and then do the task, right?
Yeah, it has to get done anyway. So it's like actually no, like.
And now you're gonna feel regret, remorse. Like you're gonna be like, wow, I set myself back and all that stuff. That's crazy.
But it's like, this sucks. Yeah. And that's okay. Accept it. Yeah. Embrace it. Don't run from it. And it's like, okay, this sucks. So like, is there any way I can make this better? Okay, maybe if I take a step back, do some breathing exercises, go for a walk, get outside, move my body, like call a friend, like just like kind of let some steam off, like punch a bag, whatever it could be. Just don't run from it.
What's interesting is that thought pattern loop. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people struggle with that thought pattern loop. I feel like
I struggle with it for the last 5-6 years.
That's a very common thought pattern loop. It's like something has happened to me that I can't control, or there's a task I need to get to that I really don't want to get done. So rather than doing this immediately, I'm going to do something that I perceive as pleasure, but it's a very instant gratification. I feel with like guilt almost instantaneously. So eating that whole tub of Ben and Jerry's, you made me feel so worse that you eat a second tub. But you wake up in the next morning, you feel disgusting, and you're like, oh, why did I do that, blah, blah, blah. And then you still have to do what you got to do. It's crazy, man. Why are we wired? Like, it's like, let me take a step back. Like, it's very interesting to watch how human beings allow themselves to have such emotional responses to things, and how they're almost a slave to not their emotion but their reactions, because they can't control what's happening to them, but they can control how they act. Very interesting how like that such a visceral response could happen to something that's uncontrollable. It's like you're gonna encounter these uncontrollable things. So why is it that you're now setting yourself in a deeper hole and feeling worse about yourself, not liking how you look in the mirror, like literally having like so much agony while still doing the same thing. I think it's a very sad but interesting thing, because it's experienced by so many people's human experience includes that, and there's very few people that can actually live outside of that. But it's what it sounds like is that it's a decision that you have to make. You have to make a decision to not be controlled by your emotion. You have to make a decision to be aware when you find yourself caught in these negative thought pattern loops that's causing you to overeat carbs. It's causing you to do things that you otherwise do not want to do, which is interesting.
We hold another sip too.
Yeah, exactly.
My friend?
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
That's great.
Yeah, we got into it today. So the next one, we might potentially talk about questions and really unpacking that, like how we got to the point where we ask ourselves these good questions, and how that's important, and how someone can involve that in their life. But I think what's going to be difficult about that is, given that we're kind of like on the other side now, it's hard to really kind of think of those times where we were like
I could think.
Like you still remember? Okay, cool.
I still remember, and I think even everyone has different questions, but like it all has a similar theme. It's like if you keep asking questions like why do I have to work today, or why do I have to, like, why does this suck, like, at work, or why is, like, my coworkers, like, mean, or why does my girlfriend, like, or wife nag me, like, you ask these questions, you know, it's versus, like, how can I make my wife stay today?
Yes.
How can I make her feel more supported, make her feel more loved? It's just, like, it's
same thing.
It's the same thing, but
different
one of them has
outlook.
a totally different outlook and different outcome.
And even intention. Like the why, like one of them is just like, oh my god, just.
And
like,
it has the power to change your life.
Yes, it does. I agree with you.
And I noticed that with me with the business. Like,
I agree with you.
I was asking, like, why is this chaotic? Why is this, you know, like, why is this like this? Like, why am I like, why do I have to do this? Like, you know, but this person's like, what does this look like if it's easy? How can this look better? I get to do this. Like, I'm blessed. Like, you know, like most, like you know, if you gotta you gotta reapproach the, like, again, it's hard because you're in it, you're in the misery, the stress, all that, and you ask it from question from misery and stress, it's going to be a question you're going to get an answer that it's going to, because we are so, that's a cool thing about humans, we are so wired to get answers. Like, our brains will give you an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. It's like
instantaneous.
Like, you'll get an answer. It's like, why is your shirt black? It's like, oh, it's black because like the figment, the fabric, whatever. But it's like, so like we'll find an answer. So it's like, just ask a better question.
Yeah. That's
all right,
deep, man.
We'll get into that for next
That's
episode.
so deep, man. That's deep. All right, so appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Woo!
Look forward to the next episode. That's crazy, man.